Hi folks, my name is Matt. I have been wanting to play a little bit of Grixis Delver lately. This sort of started, I was thinking about the metagame, I want to say 2 weeks ago, and comparing between Temur and Grixis Delver. And so Temur Delver has seen a lot more play in the recent past, but has not been performing to the same level that Grixis Delver has been. Now, I haven't played Temur Delver basically at all, but I have played quite a bit of Grixis Delver, both in like ancient history and relatively recently. So the differences between this and Temur Delver are basically we have Orcish Bowmasters and Molten Collapse in the main deck, and instead of that in Temur Delver, there are Seek the Beasts and some copies of Counterbalance, which are played sometimes one, sometimes two, and then a couple copies of something like Unholy Heat. The main deck for this Grixis Delver list is pretty stock. Basically, in Grixis Delver, you have a choice between playing 4 Murktides or 3 Murktides and 1 Brazen Borrower. Every once in a while, you'll see folks trim like a Mishra's Bauble or one of the Molten Collapses or this sort of Brazen Borrower flex slot for something like Spell Pierce or for Stifle. Those cards are fine, but I like sort of broad answers that are a little bit more able to be used sort of reactively. That's my preference personally. There's a lot in Magic and in Legacy where there isn't necessarily like a correct decision in my perspective. It's what's maybe the correct decision for you as an individual when you're playing a deck. I think that there are lots of examples of this. You can go back to the Miracles era when there were both the heavy control versions and then also the versions that were playing Daze and Monastery Mentor. Looking at our sideboard, I haven't. Grixis Delver is a deck that I am comfortable and somewhat familiar with, but it's not a deck that I have necessarily particularly strong feelings about. In terms of like, I'm not a Delver expert, I guess is how I would put it. So the sideboard selection that I've gone for here is I've got 4 blasts, 1 blue blast and 3 red blasts. I've got 1 spell pierce and 2 force of negations. The blasts obviously come in against, decks that are either, red for blue blast or blue for red blast. And then the Force of Negations and the Spell Pierce are there for fast combo matchups. Sometimes you just want additional turn 0 pieces of interaction. Or for the Force of Negations, and then the Spell Pierce can help to sort of like bridge that gap. We've got a Fatal Push. I like having an extra piece of removal, like 1 mana removal and Delver Mirrors. It's a matchup where Daze is super good and mana efficiency is really important. Similarly, the counterbalance is mostly there for Delver Mirrors, where you can both gain tempo and card advantage, where you can select using Dragon's Rage Channeler or Mishra's Bauble plus the 8 cantrips to be able to counter their spells, thus gaining card advantage while also not necessarily investing mana that turn to gain mana investment or mana advantage as well. Meltdown and Dress Down. I only have a single Meltdown on Magic Online. I might play 2 if I bothered to pick up the second one, but I haven't. But basically both Meltdown and Dress Down are here for like Urza Saga, and then Meltdown has applications against artifact-based decks, and Dress Down has impact in some other matchups. It's good against like initiative creatures. It's good against like Doomsday, Cephalid Breakfast, some other stuff. The sort of graveyard hate that I've gone for is I should probably revisit this, but basically, like, I just always play 2 Surgicals in my sideboard. Basically, no matter what my sideboard is. So I should probably reevaluate that. The reason that the third piece of Graveyard Hate is Nihil Spellbomb is for the Riscaminator matchup, where Grief Reanimate Grief is something that a card in your hand can't interact with in a meaningful way. So being able to put the Spellbomb into play beforehand gives you the ability to interact with that, so should you so choose, if assuming you're not getting turn 1 scammed. The Damping Sphere is here basically as a lock piece against some decks. Think stuff like Mississippi River against Storm. It's basically, it's a relatively wide card that hits a lot of unfair decks. So the single copy there is sort of why I'm playing that. I am recording this intro after I already completed the league because I kind of forgot to do that beforehand. So I might be like articulating reasons for these cards that I hadn't thought about before I played the league, or my thoughts may be more fleshed out now than they would have been had I like recorded this prior to the league. But anyways, I hope you enjoy the matches. There were some really fun moments, and yeah, would love to play first. I've already burned a minute of my clock by accident. This hand, cantrip heavy, removal spells, no initial threat against a Yorion deck, so either Death and Taxes or some sort of a Beans deck, probably. I think I'll take a single mulligan here, looking for a threat. This, yeah, I think this is fine. I'm not going to go to 5. I'll put back 1 strand. Lead on strand, pass the turn. And we'll see what our opponent is playing, whether that's a Beans deck or... Okay. Oh, it's Cephalid Breakfast. Interesting, okay. This was a deck that I tried at one point, like Cephalid Breakfast with Yorion and just like a very reasonable fair plan. I didn't end up loving it that much. Gonna play the Underground Sea here. Yeah, just... I felt like you could fit enough of the fair plan into a 60 card deck without needing to dilute your ability to actually hit combo pieces. Although, with the changing metagame now, it's certainly possible that you don't need to be able to combo as quickly, and so just threatening A plus B might be worthwhile. Question here is, do I want to Bowmasters this Nomads into potentially Daze? I think I'm possibly okay with that. So I'm going to fetch. We'll jam this Bowmasters. Do I want to hide red for now? No, I don't think I do. So the reason that I'm going to jam into Daze here, I think, is because if they Daze, I'm not going to fight over it. Cool. And then we can Wasteland their Caracas and set them back 2 lands. Bobble. Let's attack first. Let's get a card deeper here. I could use the Strand for some amount of selection, but I think I would rather not. Okay, so they've got an Illusionist on top, so they may decide to just jam, but if they decide to jam, then they are going to put themselves in range of Daze. We do have a Force backup here. Drawing another land, not ideal. And they missed their land drop, so the Wasteland was pretty good there. Okay. Now we have the Daze, that's great. I'm deciding whether or not I want to play a 3/3 Murktide and tap out for it. I feel like we're in pretty good shape. I might be willing to do that next turn if I draw another land. Okay, so they have an Urza's Saga. Urza's Saga is not as good if you don't have lands. I think I'm just gonna pay mana and cast this Daze. And I'll leave up. So they're gonna force. I'll let the force resolve, and then we'll force back. So I'm very glad that I decided not to play that Murktide, because we would have died. I know that some lists are playing a Surveil land, so that might be something that would be kind of worth trying, but I didn't include one in this list. Just continuing to chip away here 2 at a time. I'm going to hold this, the 4th land here, in case we draw Brainstorm. 3 mana is sufficient to play the things that I care about playing here. They found the additional land for the Urza Saga. Sure, that's fine. 2 mana Stoneforge Mystic, potentially. Illusionist. We might just die to the Illusionist. No, we don't, because we can bounce... Oh, yeah, because we can bounce the Illusionist, and then they can't replay it immediately, and then we can hope to draw something off the top, because Shugo is sorcery speed and not instant speed. For a moment, I was thinking about a line where if I'd played the 4th land, that we could Brazen Borrower our own Bowmasters and attempt to Bowmaster the Illusionist to get it just dead. But unfortunately, that doesn't work because it's non-land permanent an opponent controls. So they Cryptic Coat to Fairy Stoneforge. Okay. Ponder, I like to see that. first cantrip of the game. Okay. I'm going to put Brainstorm on top, Bolt directly underneath it, and cast the Brainstorm right now. Because then we'll get to keep Bolt days. No, I would not like to use Haunter's ability to shuffle. Let's Brainstorm, and we'll put back Flooded Strand, and yeah, Strand Murktide is what we're going to put back here, I think. I will leave I guess the way this is going to play out is I'm going to have to fetch it away, but yeah, we'll see. All right, chip for another 2. I would like to redraw this Murktide if I have the opportunity to and just put an end to this game, but we're probably not going to be that lucky. Oh, they're going to make a Construct. Okay. If they're going to make a Construct, then I will draw this Murktide. Second Shuko. Okay. And another Urza Saga. And then they're going to have a big Construct, but we are not in danger of dying. Okay, so we'll redraw that Murktide, jam it as a 7/7 or something, and try and end this game. If I misordered this, no, I did not misorder it, thank God. Okay, blue, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, leaving up the mana for the lightning bolt, and no attacks, unfortunately. They've got the Urza Saga up to 2, and they're gonna play the Illusionist. Sure, Illusionist resolves. We'll fetch and attempt to lightning bolt the Illusionist. We lose to a Forcible or a Daze here, but I think that playing the Murktide was worthwhile. Okay, we have survived the additional Illusionist. That's good. Was that the third Illusionist? That feels like it was the third Illusionist. 1, 2, 2. Oh, because we bounced the Illusionist. That's right. Do I care about them killing my token? I don't feel like I care about them killing my token here. Feels like a little bit of an odd play to me. Yeah, so we'll jam for 7. Because I can't really think of a sequence that will let them lethal us with just combat damage. I think I'm going to hold this Wasteland. So they've just shown us this entire game that they don't have days. The Wasteland, it doesn't really... Like, if they spend their entire turn making another Construct token, that doesn't save them from just dying. Yeah, sure. We'll just let them untap. We'll hold the Wasteland. They've got an Urza Saga trigger. Let's see if they float or if they make a Construct. Okay, and they chose option 3, Concede. All right, looking at our sideboard, I like Meltdown, I like Dress Down, I like Red Blasts, I like the additional removal, I sometimes like Counterbalance. Surgical, Damping Sphere, and Spellbomb can all interact with their graveyard elements, but I don't really like fighting on that axis that much. And like if they go off, you need them to sequence wrong a lot of the times for like a Surgical Extraction to actually impact them. Damping Sphere can prevent them from like casting and then going off in the same turn, so their threat has to stay in play for multiple turns. The Spellbomb is the only one that I think could be reasonable, because you can just put it in play and then they have to remove it and then go off. But they're most likely, like, if they go off, they're gonna find a counterspell, or like they'll find a Cabal Therapy to interact with Surgical Extraction. So I've got 6 cards I want to bring in potentially, and I want to leave in all the removal. Can probably trim a Bauble. Can probably trim a couple Dazes on the draw. I don't hate that. Brazen Borrower can interact with the like Saga tokens and stuff. Bowmasters is fantastic. I maybe don't need like all these Rebs. Let's trim 2 Baubles, 2 Dazes, and I think I'm gonna trim 2 Force of Wills. They're likely going to play or attempt to play a much more fair game post-board, I think. I'm expecting stuff like Triumph of St. Catherine, potentially. They're going to have like a Cryptic Coat game plan, Batterskull, potentially, Cauldron Complete, that kind of stuff. And I just don't want to be 2-for-1ing myself against their fair plan. And then Days on the draw, not great. We got the Meltdowns the Meltdown and the Dress Down for their Urza Saga stuff. So we'll sort of see how this plays out. I'm much more familiar with the other side of this matchup than I am with this side of this matchup. Like, I have played a lot of Cephalid Breakfast, and I have not played a lot of Delver in recent eras. I think this hand is perfectly fine. They can't turn one us. I mean, some lists can, but the likelihood that your Yorion Lotus Petal list seems very unlikely. So we'll probably lead like DRC Delver, DRC Bauble potentially with Days Up. I think normally I'd want to lead on the Delver, but getting double Surveil trigger next turn seems better, and we only have the single red source right now. Could use the Ponder to fish or something, but I think we'll be fine for now, so just going to jam Dragon's Rage Channeler, apply a little bit of pressure, see what we can do with this. I like the Meticulous Archive in their deck. That seems like a nice choice. Especially like because they have so many lands, they're going to have a large... The opportunity cost of running a tap land is lower when you are less likely to draw it. And then it's just fetchable when you want it. Okay. Gonna hold the fetch here, and we'll DRC first. And then we'll bobble, see what we see off of our Surveil triggers. Bowmasters. Bowmasters I'm going to keep. Because it is a removal spell and a threat. Or it's a removal spell for the things that I'm particularly scared of, and I think we are more likely to be able to... We're pretty likely to be able to beat a ground game with this kind of an opening. Play the Delver, and then we'll just make sure that we use the Mishra's Bauble to draw the Bowmasters before our next upkeep, so that we don't... so that we don't not flip Delver. Basically, to give ourselves a shot at flipping Delver. And then because of this, I'm actually going to crack the Bauble now. And they may or may not fetch. They left a card on top. It's an island, sure. They're shuffling away their island. So they only got one card off of their Ponder there. Second Surveil land. Cool. Oh, something I didn't consider that maybe I should have is Pest Control might really get us here. Yeah. I did not remember that Pest Control has been added to this format. Okay. Shuko. Shuko is fine. Shuko and Jite. Well, I guess Jite is the kind of a card that would beat this hand. So we'll look at our top card. It is a Flooded Strand. I will draw my Flooded Strand and be a little sad. Play out Ponder. I think I will probably bin the second Bowmasters. I would like to get Delirium here. And so we're going to have 1, 2, 3... Yeah, we'll bin the Underground Sea, because then we can leave our fetch uncracked. Bolt, Blast, Land. Okay. I'm going to put the Blast in my hand and the Bolt on top. And then we'll play a Flooded Strand, jam for 7, try and get them dead next turn. Nope, I want to attack with all creatures, not concede the game. They're in the same menu. It's bad. This is not what I want. And pass the turn. Opponent's jamming the Illusionist. Alright. Have some choices here. So I can Rebbit and Daze, or I can Bowmasters and Daze. Neither one really beats Force of Will. I think I'm going to Rebbit and Daze, and the reason for that is that this plays around their Daze instead of Bowmasters and Daze plays into their Daze. Oh, okay, that's fine. So if their last card is Force Blue card, then they get us here. But Flusterstorm is beatable because we let them counter our Blast. We leave our Bolt on top because that's going to kill them on our next turn. And then we can Daze the Illusionist. We'll pick up this C and hope that their last two cards are not Force Blue card. And we'll leave this Bolt on top many times over. Let's see. All right. And we'll continue to leave this Bolt on top. Yep. Leave the Bolt on top. All right. Yes, I would like to reveal my Lightning Bolt. And they concede. All right. 1-0 versus Cephalid Breakfast with Yorion. I want to take a quick look at their... So the cards we saw out of their list were... We've seen the Surveil lands, a Jite, Cryptic Coat, Teferi. Didn't see any Dazes in either game. Two Shukos is normal though. Didn't actually see any Stoneforges, but they are just like not super likely to draw them. They assembled combo like several times against us, which was kind of impressive. Well, anyways, on to the next round. All right, on the draw in round 2, this hand doesn't have a lot of early pressure. We also don't really know what the top of our deck looks like. Like this is kind of like a 5 known, 2 unknown kind of a hand. On the draw, we've got a Wasteland, which is pretty good. We've got a Daze. We have a removal spell. I don't know. I think I'm gonna ship this one back once. Try for a 1-drop. This I think is probably going to be acceptable. I think our choices are going to be between Collapse and Murktide. I think I'll put back the Molten Collapse because if I put back the Murktide and I draw Force of Will, not having a blue card is going to be super awkward. That or like hand tripping into a Force of Will could be super awkward. We only are going to be able to find one source of mana here. We're not playing a Badlands. So, I don't know. We'll see what we're up to here. Chromox. Oof. All right. Chromox, Solitude, Lotus Petal, Plateau. We gonna get Blood Mooned or just initiative creature on turn 1. 4th. Okay. Don't love 4th for 2 on turn 1. I guess we'll let them hit us. We'll take 4. They have 2 cards left. We draw another Bauble. Is this game winnable? So we go Bauble, Bauble. We can figure out exactly what their next 2 draws are. So we'll find out what they're drawing for turn this turn. We'll find out what they draw off the Monarch. We can bolt a Human Knight, or we can hold up Lightning Bolt for something like a Caves of Chaos adventure if they have a Soul Land, if they hit a Soul Land. They would have played Soul Land on turn 1 unless perhaps it was City of Traders, because they had 2 color sources plus... Yeah, they had enough colored sources, so they... Unless their hand is like City of Traders, I feel like the extra token would have been worth spending the City of Traders for, though. Okay, maybe we'll play a Bauble first, and I will Bauble them to see what their top card is. So their top card is an Ancient Tomb, and then can play a Delta, and we'll play out the additional Bauble, and then we'll pass the turn. I'm going to give this a shot, even though I don't know how winnable this game feels. Okay, second land is not, or second like mana source not being a Wasteland is not bad. They can draw their Ancient Tomb. My sort of game plan right now is hope that they brick, kill a Human Knight token on their end step. They're going to end up drawing like a bunch of cards here, but we can... Yeah, I'll take another 4 here. I want to play around them having Caves of Chaos Adventurer, if humanly possible, by being able to bolt it before they can put counters on it. Seasoned Engineer is much less beatable. Let's see what their top card is. Actually, it doesn't matter because they're going to get a basic land anyways. Yeah, this is deeply rough. I think I can concede to that. We'll let them play it out. I am going to bolt a human, like one of the knights here. And get our Volk, bolt a knight, draw our card off of our Bauble, Forcible, and Brainstorm. So we could play an anemic 4/4 Murktide Regent. We could Wasteland them, which doesn't really do anything. We could Brainstorm and then try and find a 1-drop. We could pass the turn. This, yeah, it gives itself the protection. So we take 5 down to 6. We have to fetch, and then they can trap us next turn. There's no 1-drop that we can find that will prevent that from happening. I guess that there's like a world where we can go land, pass. Yeah, it's like an insane world where we go like land, pass, Bowmasters ping their knight token, and then we just have to draw the Molten Collapse to kill the Seasoned Engineer and hope that they don't have another initiative creature to go into trap. Or no, we're going to go to 3 here. I miscounted. Yeah. City of Traders off the top. And by 3, I mean after my fetch. Hearse is a pain, but I think it's beatable. Like, assuming that we hit our runners, then Hearse is potentially beatable, but yeah, like Fable feels not beatable. So we'll kill that. I think I'm going to get rid of this Murktide because the Hearse is going to put that outside of range, I believe. Yeah, the Murktide doesn't block Seasoned Engineer, and the Hearse will put it out of range. So I'll force down to 3 and then fetch to 2 in response to the Monarch trigger. Yeah, you can have our cards, and we'll Bowmasters, ping the token. They draw a card, we ping the token again. And now we just have to hit sort of like exactly Molten Collapse Delver. I don't think it matters which of these lands we tap. Actually, I should probably tap the Underground Sea. Did I haven't been to any lands. No, okay. So I have to tap the Underground Sea because I guess we could find Bolt, Bolt, Volk, or like Bolt, Bolt, Fetch, and that'll keep us alive as well. That is not going to do it because this gives protection from creatures, not from a color of your choice. Okay. All right, I think that there was a line there if we'd hit Runner Runner, but our opponent asked me if we're new to Legacy, and I'm going to tell them yes. I guess we'll do Dress Down, Blue Blast. Yeah, Dress Down, Blue Blast. Fatal Push. We could board in Meltdown, try and hit all of their artifacts. I don't think that's really good. They're not a deck that is likely going to be playing... they're not likely a deck to be playing Urza's Saga. I don't think Spell Pierce is what I want. On the play, I don't think I want Force of Negation. Force of Negation is tough in these kinds of matchups because they're going to have some hands where sometimes you want like a Force of Negation to knock out like a Chromox or something. It's hard to articulate it, but it's kind of like you get a soul read and you're like, this is the thing to fight over. Not that that's like necessarily ideal. One bauble. I wonder what our opponent's very kind advice is. I think I'm going to trim a Murktide. Because I think the smaller threats are more what... Oh, okay. This is actually very nice of them. Oh. Wait, why is my H key is not working? That's weird. I'm going to click submit so that I don't accidentally not submit my deck. This hand has a lot of threats. We don't have any interaction. Really want like a Daze or a Wasteland in this matchup on the play, or something a little bit more than this. That said, we can go Delver, upkeep Brainstorm, flip Delver, hopefully. Oh, no, we can guarantee the flip because we have the Molten Collapse. Sure, I'll keep this. I responded a little bit flippantly because I kind of expected sass from my opponent when they were asked, are you new to Legacy? I feel a little bit bad for lying now. The reason that we didn't fetch, like we didn't bauble and fetch, was because I wanted to know both cards that they drew. I'm pretty sure that I said that when we were taking that line, but it is quite nice of our opponent to let us know that trick. All right, we'll lead on Delver here. Attempt to flip it with our Brainstorm on our upkeep, hit a second land, play another threat, and just try and play the race game. The racing game. We're not... I phrased that poorly. Alright, opponent's leading on Chromox. We'll let that happen, because we don't have a choice. Petal, 3 mana, 2 mana. Chalice on 1. Okay. Yeah, that's not bad. No, I would not like to reveal my Delver of Secrets. Alright, chip for 2. Chip for 1. When we find another land, we have an answer to this Molten Collapse. We have an answer to the Chalice of the Void with our Molten Collapse, but the Chalice for 1, pretty effective here. Felt like this hand was fine on the play because we can get a threat down before they get us. Sure. Yep. Yeah, Chalice was pretty unfortunate for us. Wouldn't have felt so bad about this had we flipped the Delver on turn 1. We still are potentially in this. Like, do I jam? I'm thinking about playing a 1-drop into their threat here. Yeah, we don't have a land to find. I'm thinking about playing a 1-drop into this Chalice to get an additional card into the graveyard for Murktide Regent. I think I might do that. Yeah, I think I'm going to do that, and we'll do that with the DRC so that we um, give ourselves outs to find Force of Will and have additional blue cards. Fetchland still stabilizes this game for us because we can fetch Molten Collapse the Seasoned Engineer, kill the Chalice as a 2-for-1. So we've got, well, second Chalice is pretty rough. Yeah, second Chalice is really rough here. Or although they put it in there, they binned it actually. So that's kind of interesting. I like racing with initiative a lot more than I like removing their threat and them still having the initiative. There's something different about the when they have to take it back on their turn. Yeah, second Seasoned Engineer is pretty rough. I don't imagine that we're going to come back this game now. We're getting trapped already. Don't love that. Another DRC. Okay, so the next room in the dungeon is they get to draw a card. We can put another card into the graveyard, but I think that we are, in fact, just dead. This is 9 damage. In order for us to remotely have a chance, we have to hit... Yeah, I don't think that there's a single series of outs here that allows us to survive. The closest I think we can get is like fetch land on the top. We can try and find the fetch land with the Scry 2. I guess we can Scry 2 first and see if we can find that. So we'll Scry 2, C. We want Lostwell, Scry 2, Vulcan Daze. Neither of those will do it. And yeah, so we take 9, they draw a card, and then they throne. Yeah, I'm going to concede this game. GG's, opponent. Now I'm going to try and figure out why my C and H keys are not working, because that's a little concerning. Anyways, on to the next one. All right, we are in round 3 on the play, or we have the choice to. Definitely going to take the play. Or, oh, we were on the draw. All right. Chromox, they're imprinting something. That's a Rabblemaster. Yeah, okay. So probably Moon Stompy. We're going to get Chalice for 1. Yep, that's rough. I liked this hand a lot more when I thought I was on the play. Chalice for 1 and Chalice for 0. Okay. So the good news here is that they don't have very many resources left. The bad news here is there's nothing we can play for a couple turns. Yeah. Play a Delta and pass. I think our plan here is hope that this Rabblemaster they don't have another threat to follow up this Rabblemaster. Brazen Borrow the Chalice, untap, and hopefully we'll have a third land, and then we can play triple 1-drop. Maybe we can find a Force of Will for when they replay the Chalice. So like Bolt, Delver, Ponder, find a Bolt, Delver, find a Force of Will kind of a deal. So we'll pass again. We'll get hit for like 4, 5, 6 at a minimum. Go to 13. I was thinking about the match that I had just played. So it's the next day for me. I stopped recording so that I could make dinner and spend some time with my partner. But I think my mistake in that prior match was not respecting Chalice of the Void in that post-board game, as I was thinking of initiative as the sort of like more of an aggressive deck than a prison deck. Warren Instigator. Ooh, that's interesting. Okay. So we'll fetch an Underground Sea, I guess. We'll bounce this Chalice. Untap. Found a Bowmaster. Bowmaster is not bad here. Gonna lead on the Ponder, I think. Molten Collapse. Okay. So we go Bowmaster on bottom, Bowmaster Brainstorm, Molten Collapse. Molten Collapse gives us an answer to the Chalice next turn. We're going to take 4, plus they could just like put in a Muxus, but I don't think we can beat that. I think that the plan here is basically I have to bolt this Rabblemaster so we don't die, and then hope to stabilize with a series of Bowmasters. Yeah. Could Ponder again, try and find a land underneath that, but I think having the permanent answer to the Chalice is the only way that we're going to win this game. And pass the turn. They'll probably redeploy the Rabblemaster here. Or, no, the Chalice, sorry, yeah. So that does take some amount of pressure off, which is nice. Yeah, because I guess the Warren Instigator can put the Rabblemaster into play. Sort of a fun trick that we can do here is... Okay, so the last card's the Rabblemaster. Oh, they decided not to deploy it. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. So on board they have 4, 5, 6 damage. The line I'm going to take here is I'm going to cast the Bauble into the Chalice so that we can turn on Descend, and then we can Molten Collapse to kill the Chalice for 1 and a Warren Instigator, and then that gives us the ability to cast 1-drops next turn, and then double Bowmasters. So like Bolt plus Delver, there like might be a line here. So we're gonna take 4 down to, or we're gonna take 5 because they're gonna redeploy the Rabblemaster. 4 down to 3, and then we have to bolt the Rabblemaster. I think that we're just dead here. I think that my math didn't end up working out because they're gonna have 4 Goblin tokens. Yeah, because I need to kill the Rabblemaster before they go to combat. Or, so I have a total of 6 attackers. We can Bowmasters ping the Warren Instigator, chump block the Rabblemaster, block a Goblin token, we take 3, we die. If we bolt Rabblemaster, 1 mana left, so bolt Rabblemaster, play Delver, chump block Warren Instigator, we still die. If we brainstorm and we hit bolt Volk, we bolt Warren Instigator and Rabblemaster and still die. Yeah, I don't think that there is any line that gets me out of this, so we'll concede. All right, looking at our sideboard, Blue Blast is pretty good. I think Force of Negation is something that I want against the much heavier lock piece version of this deck, like of the Ancient Tomb decks. Meltdown is an extra tool against Chalice, and Fatal Push is not bad. Spell Pierce tends not to be, I think, good enough. So we've got 5 cards in. I'm going to trim a Ponder, probably 2 Baubles, and trim a Bowmasters, I think. I think I'll trim a Delver because I think it's the least relevant. I want the Murktides to be able to play like something large through a Chalice potentially. Bowmasters are okay, but the 1-drops I want to keep. Yeah, this is what I like. All right, this game we're actually on the play, unlike the prior game. And I will keep this hand. Opponent's on 6. C. I'm going to ponder and try and find another land. That I don't mind. Put Murktide on the bottom. Draw the C. And then I will now bobble. I have a mountain on top. Okay. Basically, it's just that I have the extra blue card in my hand for the Force of Negation if I need or want. I kind of would like for them to go, like, Ancient Tomb Chalice. Is that a Matron? Yeah. Rabble. Yeah, let's daze this Rabblemaster. I maybe... So, Goblins is in the process of being worked on right now because Sticker Goblin just got banned. And so, maybe the Force of Negations were wrong, but it did still look very close to what I would expect a Moon Stompy deck to look like. Now that they have this Cavern, I think that I'm going to value this Blast higher than I value this Force of Negation. So I think I could counter with either. I think I'm going to Force of Negation here to hold on to the Blue Blast as a removal spell. And I'm going to pitch my Brainstorm here. Because the Murktide, I think, is the big threat. Hopefully we're going to be able to clock them. But Bolt, pass the turn. So Bowmasters, if they play something with 1 toughness, or if they don't make a play, Blast if they play something like Rabblemaster. So if they can broadside, attack, we can play Bowmasters, ping, double block, and trade that way. Or we can Blue Blast this now. I think I would rather trade the Bowmasters than trade my Blue Blast. Although, actually, no, I'm going to get this off board. Because they can pre-damage, like pre-blocks, fling the Chrome Mox at the Orc token, which prevents me from being able to actually make the double block, leaves the Bombardiers in play, and then the Bombardiers can potentially deal with the Murktide. Yeah, maybe I should revisit the dress down to like board the dress down in here. Yeah, because this is definitely like much more goblins adjacent. Daze I don't mind. Basically, I don't mind the Daze because it gives us a blue card for the Force of Negation, and the Goblin War Chief gives all their stuff haste, so they play a threat here, they swing, and we potentially don't even need to block. We can just take, like, I don't know, as much as like 10 damage or something, and then Bowmasters and lethal them. Okay, going back to the sideboard, let's reevaluate sort of where we're at now that I have realized the mistakes I've made. Okay. Bowmasters, dress down. Delver still feel on the weaker end of the things that we could be doing, but I think I want the additional, Bowmasters and dress down. We are on the draw, so Daze is a little bit less effective. That said, Daze in general, Daze plus Wasteland tends to be very good against the Ancient Tomb, like, aggressive decks. I think dress down is going to be too slow for what I'm trying to do here. I think I'm going to trim 1 Daze for the 4th Bowmasters. But other than that, I'm okay with this. This hand is really bad against Chalice on 1 on turn 1. Daze is our only interaction. We don't have red for Lightning Bolt. We do have a Wasteland. Our opponent kept 7. I think I'm going to mulligan this because with this hand, we need them to like not apply a turn 1 like threat we can't answer, and then our turn 1 is probably just Brainstorm or Wasteland them. This I like a lot more. I'm going to keep this and I'll put back the Bowmasters, and then potentially we're going to force something on turn 1. Well, I guess if they lead Ancient Tomb Pass, then maybe our last hand was okay, but this is definitely going to be better. I could play the Strand. I don't think I need to. Yeah, I'm going to hold that for a for an Underground Sea. Opponent's on Cavern Goblin. Yep. Is this like Matron? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, can't really do anything about Matron. They're going to get, I wonder what they're going to get. They got a Muxus. Okay. Could hold up Blue Blast. I think I'm going to just main phase this Bowmasters, ping the Matron, attack for 1. Just attempt to apply some pressure, get on board. Basically, their resource here that we can try and bottleneck is the Ancient Tomb. And the way that we can do that is by attacking their life total. So taking actions towards that game plan is going to be probably our route to victory if we can. And then holding up Blue Blast. Basically, like, the only thing that holding up mana does for us is it lets us oh, they're just going full ham for it. Yeah, we can't counter that. Yeah, so like the Blue Blast here would let us destroy one of these creatures, but it doesn't let us do much beyond that. So we're gonna get chipped for 3, and then they could, if they feel very aggressive, they could fling the Muxus at us. If we double block Broadside, then we're basically just trading. We're basically just going to trade our Bowmasters and our token for their Goblin token, because they'll fling the token at one of the double blockers. So I think I'll just take the 3. Okay. Killing off the DRC seems like pretty reasonable. This is a lot of Force of Wills. Okay. I think this is tough because they have 4 threats that are all just like really unbeatable. Because this Muxus is going to attack for like 8. The Muxus can attack for 8. We're only really going to be able to kill that with like a Molten Collapse or the Blue Blast that we're holding. The Broadside makes it so that we can't interact in combat very well. The Warren Instigator lets them continue to dump their hand. I think I'm going to bolt the Broadside now, and then I'll pass and potentially use the Blue Blast in combat. They're playing another thing. Yep. Okay. So sort of the Broadside is kind of why I had held the Blue Blast until their turn. We've got more stuff. This one I'm going to Force of Will because I'm going to point my spells at the targets that I have and pre-combat kill this Broadside. Take like close to 10 damage. Double block the Rabble Master. Take Yeah, it's going to be 7, 8, and 9, I think. Or, no, it's 10 damage. Yeah, 10 damage, we go to 5. Yeah, double block Rabble. And then I think, hope that their hand is just nothing, which we'll see when they put stuff in on off of Instigator. Hasty Goblin and second Goblin. Woof. Oh god, Rabblemaster. Sorry, Ringleader's so gross here. Yeah, I don't think there's any way out of this. Oh, and the War Chief dealt us extra damage because they got it in, so we took an extra 3 damage because they put it in during the first strike trigger, and then the Muxus, Instigator, and Goblin token dealt combined extra 3 damage. Oh, and we didn't kill their Rabblemaster because it became bigger. Wow, what a disaster. Yeah, we have no outs here. Yeah, like if we'd managed to kill this, and we had been at 5, and they had absolute nothings left. Oh, wow, also they hit a full 4 goblins off of the Ringleader. The death of goblins has been greatly overstated. GG's. All right, so we're now 1 and 2, losing to some Chalice of the Void decks. All right, back for round 4, playing against Nevilshute, who is a Doomsday expert. We are on the play. If you're not familiar with Nevilshute's YouTube channel, Martin Nielsen does really, really great content. Yeah, he's just like a really, really good player and does a ton of stuff. So if you are interested in Doomsday at all, definitely a great place to sort of like check out and explore. I'm going to keep this hand because we have Ponder and Bauble. Basically just going to try and find a piece of interaction on turn 1, probably. So I'm going to lead on Bauble here. See if we can get a little bit of information. Because if we see something that's like, yeah, okay, Underground Sea on top, that's a very... Okay, cool. So we'll go Brainstorm on bottom, Brainstorm Daze Force probably. Could also keep the Daze and put the Force in the middle. Use the Brainstorm to flip the Delver, but I think, yeah, let's put the Force in the middle. Brainstorm, Force, Daze. Keep past the turn. Oh, I forgot that I had the Bauble trigger, so I get both of my pieces of interaction, and I don't get to flip my Delver. Oh, well, that's okay. That's perfectly fine with me. Gonna play out my Delta, cast this Brainstorm. Just looking for something that is not this Molten Collapse, I think. That is a lot of things. Okay, so Molten Collapse back, and then probably second Murktide back. And then just fetch. We're going to get Stifled? Ooh. I am going to Daze this Stifle here, because I do want to deploy this threat. Daze. Interesting. Okay. What are you playing? Could be Stifle not. No, I think I'm good. Do I want to force this? I don't think I want to force this. I think I'm okay with... Top card is Murktide. Next card underneath that is Molten Collapse. This line of play feels like this is not a... Yeah, this feels like it's not Doomsday. So we'll force back, get our land, because I don't really want those 2 cards that are on top. We'll grab a Volk, deploy Delver. Because this is if this is a fair matchup, then deploying Murktide next turn is probably what I want to do. No, it's just... Ooh, Bowmasters. Dark Ritual Bowmasters. What are you playing? Yeah, you can eat this Delver. Daze is solid here. Murktide, we'll make this as big as we can. 1, 2, 3, 4, and probably leave the Delver. Yeah, I'm gonna force that, and I'm gonna Daze this Force, and I think I'm gonna pick up this C past the turn back. So Martin put back exiled a Ponder. This does feel like it's just like a particularly fair, like a fair version of Doomsday. Play out this C, jam for 7. We're like very easily winning this race. 2 cards left. Probably hoping to find another trying to find another blue card for this Force of Will, and Martin concedes. Okay. I think that he probably is on like a Doomsday list. So we got a lot of options here. Blue Blast is definitely not something I care about here. I tend not to like Surgical Extraction to like to mess up piles. That's a losing battle in my experience. Spell Bomb is not what I'm looking for. Okay, what do I not care about or want? So, a fair-sided version of like a Doomsday deck, reasonable to expect like Murktide Regents out of the board, reasonable to expect something like Shieldred. We saw Bowmasters. I think Molten Collapse is probably not where I want to be, so that's two out. I think the Brazen Borrower is probably fine to board out. I can probably trim like 2 baubles, possibly a couple of bolts, but maybe not a lot of them. Bowmasters answering their Bowmasters is where I want to be. I don't really want to go too light on interaction. So far I've got 5 cards that I feel comfortable cutting. Could trim like a bolt. I think we're looking for Spell Pierce. I think I want at least 1 Red Blast. Dress Down is interesting and narrow. I think Counterbalance is probably going to be pretty good. And then we've got Force of Negations. So we could do a split like this. We're going to be softer to something like Shieldred, but typically our fair game is going to be better than their fair game, unless I'm super misreading what Martin's on. Yeah, I think I feel pretty good about this. Forces, we got 3 bolts, Spell Pierce. Do I want to have an answer for Shieldred? Oh, ran out of time. Oops. Hopefully my sideboarding happened. No, I'm gonna ship this back. We'll both start on 6. This is perfectly reasonable. Gonna put back the Lightning Bolt. Yeah, having Daze plus Force is what I want here. Wasteland is gonna be good, probably. Bauble is great here. So we'll go Fetch Volk, DRC, Bauble, Brainstorm. Yeah, Brainstorm I think I'll leave on top. And would I rather pitch Murktide or Brainstorm to this Force of Will if I need to? I think I will just draw the card. We'll bauble you. We'll bauble Martin here. Okay, so that Doomsday confirmed. Just to have more information, and so that if basically what I was thinking is like he might not have fetched there if I hadn't baubled, but I like bobbling to force the fetch because then it's pretty likely to get the Undercity Sewers, which we can wasteland. Okay, so we've got a Dark Rit on the stack, a Lotus Petal on the stack, had the Shieldred, and I'm going to force this. And with Shieldred in play, I think I'm going to pitch the Brainstorm here. Oh, okay. I'm a little bit confused. I feel like Martin had options there. So presumably I force the Shieldred. Yeah, presumably force the Shieldred. If he doesn't have any interaction, then he still has 3 mana sources and potentially has the ability to still resolve Doomsday and win with Doomsday. Like, I think we're winning this match, but yeah, I don't know. The main deck Bowmasters was pretty cool. There were a couple of lists of Doomsday that I've seen. I don't know if Martin's played any of them, but like versions that have main deck counterbalance. It was like 2 main deck counterbalance, some number of Bowmasters. It's like pretty cool list. Anyways, all right, on the play for round 5. Gonna try and squeak out the 3 and 2. This hand in the dark, pretty good. I don't recognize my opponent's name, so we'll bauble them. We'll try and select into an aggressive and disruptive hand. Okay, opponent kept 7 as well. We'll lead Fetch, Volk, DRC, Bauble. Opponent is just F6'd by the looks of it. Do I want another Bauble? I mean, additional Bauble gets me another card in the graveyard for Murktide. It gets me another Surveil trigger. Yeah, sure, I'll keep another bauble. Let's see what's going on over there. Fury, alright. Okay. Fury's interesting. Probably Moon Stompy this time. So let's see if we can take a game, or rather a match off of a Chalice deck. City of Traders. So leading on City of Traders either means that they're super land light or super land heavy a lot of the times. Yeah, there's nothing I can do about that. They're going to Fury us, kill our DRC. It's kind of like they just force of willed our DRC. I wonder if they're going to follow this up with Chalice or a Blood Moon. Sequencing here was kind of interesting. So playing the City of Traders before playing the Fury kind of seems like they had wanted to play around days on the DRC, so maybe they don't have a ton of interaction. But also, so if they'd had a Chrome Mox, they could have played the broadside. They could have played the broadside into days, attack, kill the DRC if they were worried about that. The tapping of the City of Traders there sort of feels like they've got something that they want to cast, like a 2-drop, or they've got a Simian Spirit Guide, and it seems like they're just playing around the days. Let's bauble them again. Stingerback Terror. Okay. They've already spent 2 cards, second days. Basically, like, if they're trying to play around the days, they're going to be much less able to do that if we wasteland them, even if we're not necessarily, even if they were going to have to sacrifice the City of Traders anyways. I'm going to fire off a Brainstorm end step here, just to try and be somewhat mana efficient. So we're going to have 1 card in our graveyard. I like this Bolt. I think I'll put back Bolt and then C. And I'm going to deploy the Delver here and not the Murktide. Maybe I probably should have put Brainstorm on top then instead. Yeah, I should have put the Brainstorm back instead. Basically because I could have held up the Bolt. The Murktide we're going to be able to cast through a Chalice if they have a Chalice. Blood Moon we're going to have to fight over no matter what. 3. So this is a Blood Moon, probably. Oh, it's a Chalice. Did they exile 2 Spirit Guides there for a moment? I feel like there's a chance they've got another Spirit Guide. No? Okay. I am going to Brainstorm again here. Basically to just try and put as many cards, like instants and sorceries, into the graveyard for this Murktide. We'll put Bowmasters on top and then Brainstorm so we can reveal the Brainstorm to the Delver. Yes, I would like to reveal my Brainstorm. Yes. Underground C, attack for 3. Play Murktide. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Leave 3 card types in the graveyard. 6/6 Murktide. Deciding how to use your wastelands in these matchups is something that I find really interesting, because sometimes when you play like a City of Traders first, it means that you have a hand that is like, sometimes you're trying to bait the wasteland on the city because you're going to otherwise sacrifice it anyways, or sometimes it's because it's land light and that's all you have. Because they played City of Traders on turn 1, I think that they just missequenced. We've got our Bowmasters, jam for 9, put them to 8, and pass the turn. I guess that we could potentially have Brainstormed here and attempted to find another wasteland, but I don't think we need the wasteland. We're so far ahead on board, and we have a Daze. They're constrained on mana. Okay. All right. So that looked like actual Moon Stompy, unlike our last match against Goblins, where I made some big mistakes. So these are the 4 cards I think I definitely want. Trim a Ponder, trim a Bowmasters, trim a Bauble, and potentially trim a Delver. So we're still solid on our blue count. We're adding an additional answer to Chalice. We've got 2 additional pieces of interaction to counter lock pieces. Yeah, I think this is where I want to be. We're on the draw. This hand has the ability to beat like an early Blood Moon. We've got a removal spell. We've got a Wasteland. Bowmasters is maybe not the threat I would want, but I think that this hand is I think this hand is a keep. We're not super vulnerable to any access, I don't think. Ancient Tomb Chalice. So because of the Molten Collapse, I am going to let this Chalice resolve. Because I would rather... Basically, we can remove the Chalice once it's in play. Oh, second Molten Collapse, that's great. Yeah, because I can remove the Chalice once it's in play already, but I can't beat a Blood Moon with this hand. I am going to Wasteland them and just attempt to slow them down. I don't know if I would rather have gotten a regular land into play. Delta, Bauble. I'm going to play the Bauble and I'm just going to leave it uncracked. And I think I'll probably crack it on myself on their turn so that I can get the selection, but then also have the ability. So I'll have the card in hand and I will have used my Delta. Oh, they just passed. Oh, okay. Well, I guess that's fine then. I was saying that there was a line basically like if they played something there, then I have the ability to turn on Descend on the Molten Collapse with the fetch land while also getting the selection. But they just missed their land drop and passed, so it didn't matter. We're gonna kill their Chalice and pass the turn back to them. Again, gonna leave the Bauble uncracked here, I think. Just to now that that turn cycle has passed and we've gotten the Chalice out of play, we've got interaction, I would like to be able to turn on Descend for this Molten Collapse if I want to. Just if they have like let's say they went land Chromox something to kill, basically get maximum value out of this Molten Collapse. Force of Will. Okay. Gonna lead on Brainstorm here, I think. Are they thinking about whether or not they want to Red Blast this Brainstorm? No, okay. Gonna put back this Bowmasters. I don't think I care about that. And I will have to shuffle a card away if I want to. So I definitely want to shuffle this Bowmasters away, and then I'm going to have to shuffle away a second card if I want to play the DRC this turn, which I think I do. I think I'm going to shuffle away the second Bauble. We'll fetch, get a Volk, and then play the DRC. Get some pressure, and then we can pass. Okay, Chromox. We'll let them Chromox. That was a Fable underneath the Chromox, okay. I feel like Fable would be a card that you would want to play here. That would definitely require me to use a counter spell and not a removal spell. Blood Moon. Let's daze this Blood Moon. Surveil an Underground Sea into the graveyard. Okay. Alright, let's see what they're working with now. Stingerback Terror. I think that's their second Stingerback Terror, or... No, I'm thinking of last game. They showed us a Stingerback Terror last game. Second DRC. Wasteland on top. Okay. So we hit them down to 15, and then it'll take us 3 turns to kill them. We've got Force, Molten Collapse. With the Wasteland on top of the deck, I think that the bottleneck I'm going to go for, because they clearly don't have additional mana sources in play. So I'm going to kill their Chromox, and then Wasteland them next turn. Yes, we'll continue to leave this Wasteland on top. We'll attack for 3. So I think that we're going to have just enough resources to get over the finish line here. We'll let them draw a card, and then we'll draw a Wasteland at some point here. Because this turn, presumably they don't have another mana source. If they'd had a Spirit Guide, they would have used it to resolve the Blood Moon, I think. If they had another artifact piece of mana, they would have used that. We know that they're not drawing a land. They're Stingerback, they can't play. And so we can potentially just fully lock them out here. Let's see. Okay, so they've got a Smashing on top. So they're going to draw another land, but we can keep them on 2 mana. So we'll Wasteland the Den, I think. Jam for 6. They floated a mana. Dead Gone is a card they could have, but it doesn't kill a DRC. All right. Fury is only going to kill one of our creatures. I think if they Fury, I think I'll just let that go. And they conceded. All right. We managed to beat one of the Chalice decks. All right. So let's look at this list in sort of retrospect and see sort of if I have any thoughts about this. So our matchups were Cephalid Breakfast, Boros Initiative, a new version of Turbo Goblins, Doomsday, and then Moon Stompy. We lost to Boros Initiative and Moon Stompy. Boros Initiative and Turbo Goblins. We beat Moon Stompy, Doomsday, and Cephalid Breakfast. The pieces that I think I don't know if that Turbo Goblins matchup was winnable in that game 3. Like, that was the cavern with all of the fast mana was pretty rough. Maybe some mulligan decisions could have been made there in that game 3. Game 1 I don't really remember, but I think that we got chaliced in game 1 and then we had a line around it, but it was a little bit too fast and too soon in game 1. So maybe respecting chalice in game 1s is something that is worth doing in this metagame, but I generally like to just, play game 1s with keepable hands, and if you get chaliced or you get force checked on turn 1 and you don't have it and you die, like, that's just part of Magic. The main deck is like felt good. This deck is like very stock at this point. The Brazen Borrower felt solid. The options are between like Brazen Borrower and a 4th Murktide usually. Could have played... There's like a couple of slots that you could play around with in terms of playing like a Spell Pierce or some Stifles or something like that. But I like how well-rounded this is. Molten Collapse is just a fantastic card. Really, really big fan of that card. I was a psycho. When I played Grixis Delver back during the Miracles era, I played Dreadbore in my main deck. My list was actually very similar to this, except I guess there were no DRCs. It was a Deathrite Shaman build at the time, so it would have been Young Pyromancer, Delver, Young Pyromancer, Deathrite Shaman, and then Cabal Therapeak Ataxian Probe instead of the Murktides and stuff. Oh man, our top end at that time was I think we were playing the Fish. I think we were playing Gurmag Angler back in the day. Anyways, but yeah, I was playing Dreadbore in that deck. So Molten Collapse, just a strict upgrade to Dreadbore for this deck. It's fantastic that it can answer Chalice the Void. As far as the sideboard goes, I'm not a particularly good Delver pilot anymore. I like this sort of like small assortment of interactive spells. Damping Sphere feels pretty relevant against a lot of the sort of combo decks. Could maybe don't need all of these Force of Negations in the sideboard, but maybe do. I tend to feel like I like to have more interaction against combo matchups and then just attempt to grind out or get all the small edges in fair matchups. There's a real dichotomy between like play style, like the way that play style, play skill, and familiarity play into the card choices that you make. And so I feel very comfortable in fair matchup mirrors. And so I don't feel like I need as many tools to gain an edge in those matchups. Whereas there are fewer situations where you have agency in decks that are going to try and like turn 1 force check you. And so having additional tools for that is a way that I feel like I can gain percentage compared to if I had some additional pieces of like card advantage or something like that, like a second counterbalance for Delver Mirror or something like that. 3 Rebs might be too many right now. I played 3 Rebs because I didn't want to lose to Murktides, and there are, I guess like Rebs just a solid card. Could maybe do a second Meltdown. I don't know how I feel about Surgical these days. Surgical is a relevant sideboard card, but it's not that good against the Riskaminator decks, and so this is sort of a sideboard slot that I've just left in the deck, but I hadn't really thought about it too much. I think the key takeaways for me from this league were I'm pretty sure that I misplayed that Boros Initiative matchup pretty badly. Everything else felt pretty good. We 2-0'd Breakfast, we 2-0'd Doomsday, we 2-0'd Moon Stompy. The Turbo Goblins matchup, was a little rough, but the Boros Initiative matchup, I feel like had I made different mulligan decisions in that game, in that second game, there was a possibility to win that matchup where we instead did not. Yeah. Anyways, thanks for spending this time with me. And Hopefully, y'all check out Nevilshute's stuff. He makes fantastic Doomsday content. Thank you all for watching. Let me know what you think about Grixis Delver in the format. If you want to hear my thoughts on the banned and restricted update, check out my video on it, and subscribe if you'd like to see more of my work.